All right, welcome back everyone. This is Jface Games. If you're new, what we're doing is we're trying to build a new RPG and we're going through a lot of other RPGs for influence, see what they did, see what I really liked about their systems, and then try and come up with a new way of maybe using those ideas in my own system. And so today what we're talking about is Fantasy Age. Now, Fantasy Age has a lot of cool ideas, and I'm boiling it down to just two major ones, but they are pretty major, I think. So I already wrote them in here this time, and the first one is their attribute system. So what's really cool about this is that unlike other games where you maybe have 6 attributes, strength, dexterity, con, wisdom, intelligence, charisma, this attribute system has a little bit of a lengthier array. So you have accuracy, communication, constitution, dex, fighting, intelligence, perception, strength, and willpower. So there's some in there that are pretty familiar, but it adds a little bit more nuance to some of the other ones. Now, what's cool is these are stats just like everything else. You can roll out your stats, or you can do a point-buy system, and you end up with all of these having, in essence, like you would in any other game, where you have your I think 0 to 18 or whatever the case might, or 3 to 18 range. Depending on what your range is, you get pluses. Excellent, great. Now, what's really cool is that you can then do focuses. Each one of these has, in essence, associated abilities or focuses. And so if we open up accuracy, you can see it's not just accuracy in general, it's accuracy with something in particular, right? And same thing with communication. It's not just communication, but it's communication in a specific field almost. Now, some of these you gain through your race, like your heritage or ancestry. Some of these you gain through maybe your background, etc. And some of these you get to pick, but the idea is by having a focus, you now have extra pluses towards that sort of scenario. So what this means is if I have to do any of these, say I have to do any of these, well, if my communication's great, then I probably can make a roll or a check for it. But if I have a focus on, say, leadership, well, now if it's a leadership situation, not only am I using my base stat, but I might get +2 or whatever you want to do. I'm not worrying about the pluses, like how many pluses things give right now. I'll deal with math later on. I just like the idea that this is a cool way of helping characters round out their characters, their backstory almost. Now, other cool things you can do with this is you can make it so that some of these you can't actually, can't do, you can't roll a check unless you have the focus in it. So you can do a lot more with it. But I love that the creators of this really flushed out all of these different attributes and gave them a lot of cool, interesting flavor by having these focuses within them. So it's pretty neat. Now, the other one is a massive one. The other one is the stunt system. So if you've never played a stunt system game, Age, I don't know if Age is the first one to do it, but they're probably the most familiar. You've probably heard of Dragon Age RPG. There's a couple different Age. They have Modern Age, Dragon Age. I think there's a Blue something. I apologize if you're out there and you created that one, but I probably have a list, but we don't have to worry about it right now. The stunt system, in essence, is you're going to roll 3d6. So I think I have 3d6 right here. I'll pull them out. So you're going to roll 3d6. 2 of them are going to be your basic d6, and then one of them is called your stunt die, right? Now what's neat about this is that you're going to roll these 3 dice, and the cumulative score on it is going to be your skill check, right? So if I rolled a 15 out of the 3 of them, I rolled a 15 on my check. Okay, great. And so maybe there's DC of 10, and so I roll 3 dice and I try and get above 10. Excellent. That's normal. That would be like any other game, right? But where this thing has a little bit of unique concept to it is that if any of these dice double, right? So either the that's a good example. If these 2 end up being 5s, let me reverse this, get this so that it looks good for the camera. If these 2 end up being 5s over here, or if, say, these 2 end up being duplicates, whatever the case is, if 2 of these dice end up being a double, then what happens is you now get access to a stunt, right? What that does is it unlocks this dice, so your stunt die, whatever you rolled on it. So say I roll this, What this would mean is that my total check was a 14, and that because I got doubles, I now also have 5 stunt points to spend. Now 5 stunt points is a lot. What this does is it ends up making it so that you have these tables. There's these elaborate tables. They're not crazy, but there's some really cool tables. I'll put something up on the screen in a second that in essence give you access to now new abilities or something that you can do in action while stunting. This is kind of, there's no crit system in this game. So it's not like a system where you have, if I roll the max, I now crit. What it is that some of these stunts actually do really cool stuff. So what you might end up having, for instance, is you could spend 1 stunt point to immediately reload a missile weapon. Or you could spend 2 stunt points to knock someone down. No check, you just knock them down. Or 2 stunt points to maybe disarm them. Or you can spend 5 stunt points to do a lethal blow, meaning you're doing extra damage. That would be kind of the equivalent of maybe getting a crit. And so, or here's another cool one. You do 4 stunt to dual strike them. You attack again, or you get another second attack. So it's a really cool concept. What I like about this is that I like the flexibility in having, you can unload some of the things that maybe have complicated rules. Like sometimes in games, tripping, knocking over, grappling especially, in some games have really tight, complex rules. And what always happens is you're sitting at the table and you're saying to yourself, oh, I'm going to try and trip them. Now, what is that? It's my attack in athletics versus their, reflex or blah, blah, blah. And you have to figure out what the checks are. This, they kind of just build it into the stunt that if you have the stunt points, it happens. There's no check. I think that's accurate. Yeah, so it's just really cool concept. You just knock someone prone, no questions asked, boom, because you have this very cinematic moment. It's almost similar to something like Fate, where we talked about Fate before, how you can the players have an opportunity to be a part of the storytelling. This does that, but in a little bit more finite way. It's like you get to say, oh, I knocked them down, or I grabbed them, and there's no questions asked. The DM doesn't say, well, let's make a check. It just happens. And so it adds a little bit of interesting kind of concept to the game. I also think that they have a lot of other cool stunts available in different systems that talk about like you can make it very tactical. Like you can use, and remember that if you have 5 stunt points, you don't have to spend them all on one thing. You don't get to just buy one thing. You can buy 4 things. You can buy this one for 1, this one for 1, this one for 1, etc. So I think it's a really cool system. What's also really neat about this is if you look at a chart of what it's like to get stunt points, like the math behind it almost, what really kind of happens in terms of probability is that you can see that there's this nice sort of bell curve that most of the time you're in that 10 range, but what's really cool is when you come down here and you look at what it means to be successful in having a stunt, is that pretty much you're gonna get a stunt 44% of the time on any roll, right? That's the least you're gonna get is like a 44% stunt. But what's nice is that as you get, well, let me rephrase that. What I really like about this is that you can see that as the target number gets higher, your actual chance of getting a stunt gets higher. And if you roll a 16, 17, or 18, you're getting a stunt off. But on top of that, in order to get that high of a roll, that means that you're gonna get a massive stunt, right? 5, 6 stunt points to be able to burn, which is really cool. And I like that the idea is that you have a lot of stunt points that you can use. I mean, you're gonna get doubles a lot. Now, drawbacks from this system. I haven't really talked about drawbacks yet, but I think it's important to kind of talk about it because I've been reading up on this system. I haven't had a chance to play this one. I've only watched some videos, but some of the drawbacks people have is time of a turn, because some person's turn, if they miss, that's their turn, that's it. And then the next person goes and they hit, and maybe they got 4 stunt points, and they sit there and they go, oh, what am I gonna do with these stunt points? Because unlike other games where you kind of pre-plan what you're gonna do during a turn, you can kind of do that with stunt points. You can kind of be like, I have an idea of what I want to do if I get stunt points, but sometimes people, they don't know what they're going to do until they roll the stunt points. And they're like, oh, now I know what my options are. So there might be a little bit of a cognitive load there where you're having to really think through that after you've rolled, which that could be a burden. But on top of that, it's a real bummer for someone whose turn is over in a half second. Maybe they got doubles, but they missed. And all of a sudden, those stunt points are not doing anything with them, right? They're just gone. So I like this idea, and I'm already kind of pre-planning that if I had a stunt system in there, I would love you to be able to do stuff with stunt points. Say you got doubles, but you missed the target number. Maybe you have a defensive ability or a reactive ability that you can also burn stunt points on. Or maybe your stunt table is not a general stunt table, but it's based off of skills that you've acquired. Maybe there's like 2 or 3 general stunt tables, but until you've done something else in your skill tree or feat tree, now you have the ability to do this. So I think there could be a lot of fun stuff with the stunt system. So yeah, that's Fantasy Age. I think Fantasy Age from a design standpoint is really neat. I've just never played it, but I love the idea of the stunt system. All right, so that's the video, and I'll see you next time.